How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down Podcast, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. Week 13 is finally here. The Bears will face off with the Detroit Lions at home on December 6th, 12 p.m. Central Time kickoff. Today, in this episode, we're going to be making our picks and predictions in the Bears' Week 13 game against the Detroit Lions, so be sure to stick around, and let's hop right into it. I am your host, Chris Malpe. Today, to the right of me, I am joined by both of my co-hosts, Parth and Jaylen McClinton. Guys, we're looking to avoid a 6-game skid. I feel like it keeps getting worse and worse. But how are you guys doing on this Saturday morning?
Doing pretty good. Just woke up a couple hours ago, I guess. Just relaxing, watching some college football. And then, yeah, like you said, trying to avoid the 6-game skid. That would be terrible.
I was just enjoying my Saturday, I guess the Bulls training camp is back, so I've just been paying attention to that more than I've paid attention to the Bears, and I have a whole podcast on the Bears. So I think that tells how I feel about this season right now. But, let's talk some Bears football.
Yeah, it's been an eventful morning for me. Everyone on here probably should know this. I've had some very bad back issues throughout the last couple months, but had a successful procedure this morning, got an injection done. But I'm doing okay. I feel good for now, and we've got some Bears football to cover, so let's hop right on into it. ESPN's matchup predictor gives the Chicago Bears a 61.1% chance to win this game. The Detroit Lions, who come in at 4-7 with a 38.6% chance to win this one. As of Saturday afternoon, the spread currently favors the Bears by 3 points. The over-under for the game is 45, which, as unlikely as it sounds, actually could be likely when we get into the injury report and talk about all the important lines that will be missing this one. So now let's head up to the injury report. For the Detroit Lions, cornerback and third overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, Jeff Okudah is out. Their starting safety, Tracy Walker, is questionable, as well as one of their third-string running backs, Jonathan Williams. Austin Bryant, their defensive end, is doubtful, as well as their starting running back, who was originally questionable but now downgraded to doubtful, DeAndre Swift. That could be a huge loss for them. Another huge asset on offense out for the Detroit Lions, Kenny Golladay. Matthew Stafford questionable with a thumb, but we're going to assume that he's going to suit up and play. Also, their starting right tackle, I don't even know how to say it. It's that Vitae guy that didn't play in week 1. He's going to be out as well, so Tyrell Crosby's going to step in and start. Taking a look at their defense, Deshaun Hand is out, their starting defensive end. Earlier this week, Danny Shelton, their starting defensive tackle, went on IR. So we're going to see a mix of Nick Williams, Everson Griffin, and Romeo Okwara. Their linebackers are good, but my God, this secondary is banged up. They're going to be missing their first 2 cornerbacks, both Okudah, as I mentioned earlier, as well as Desmond Trufant, who was put on IR this week. For the Chicago Bears, taking a look at what the Bears got going on quickly, Nick Foles is questionable, but Matt Nagy said he believes that he'll be good enough to go to be the backup to Mitchell Trubisky. Jermaine Ifedi questionable, Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Khalil Mack, all questionable, and James Vaughters has been downgraded to out. So if you guys don't know how our pregame show works, normally we break down all of our individual segments throughout the week before we head into making our picks and predictions at the end of the show. So let's kick it off with Meet the Opponents. Obviously, taking a look at the Detroit Lions' offense, Matthew Stafford has not been great, but he has not been terrible this season. They've scored 22.9 points per game. He also has 366.6 yards per game, leading that offense, 270 through the air for Stafford, and only 96.6 on the ground rushing the ball. Taking a look at what they're going to have heading into this game, I mean, Parth, we know it's going to be limited for the Lions. They're going to have Adrian Peterson as their number 1 running back. We might see a little bit of Mohamed Sanu Sr. in at wide receiver, Marvin Jones Jr. and Danny Amendola, obviously both also in. We've seen TJ Hawkinson have quite the year. Hawkinson's had actually a great year, leading them in receiving with 45 receptions for 530 yards and 5 touchdowns. Also, Adrian Peterson leads them on the ground with 444 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. So I'm going to pass it around to you. What do you think about how the Lions have done offensively so far, and how much of a loss is it that they're not going to have, once again, Golladay or probably DeAndre Swift in this game?
Yeah, it definitely sucks for them to not have Galladay or DeAndre Swift. Kenny Galladay, when healthy, is one of the best. I mean, not one of the best, but he's a really talented wide receiver. I'd say so. And then DeAndre Swift has had a pretty impressive rookie year. There's times when he's looked really good, and there's times when he's looked pretty bad. But I think the last couple of weeks he's stepped up his game. So not having him is also going to hurt the Lions. And we all know that Matthew Stafford can move the ball at times. He's been decent this year. I think he can beat the Bears just by himself. I thought he could have week one, but their offense slowed down, and Mitch Trubisky and the Bears came back for that game. But if him and T.J. Hawkinson get going, or even Marvin Jones, there's times when Marvin Jones has big games. Danny Amendola is still a dangerous wide receiver in the slot. They'll look to pick on Buster Screen, and I think Danny Amendola is someone who's probably going to be on screen a lot. And then I'd see Danny Trevathan also get picked on, with T.J. Hawkinson maybe getting another big game too.
Matthew Stafford might come into this game a little banged up, but he's always been someone to fight through, always been someone who's been a soldier. But that missing Galladay is going to be huge. He's one of the wide receivers in the league who's the best with contested catches. He's got only 20 receptions on the year, but for 338 yards, 16.9 yards per catch, along with 48 and 2 touchdowns. So he's missing the Bears twice this season. But as you mentioned, Parth, I think we're going to see a lot of Damian Amendola, a lot of T.J. Hawkinson. I really think they've continued to use him in a good way throughout the season. We didn't see him a ton in week one, but he's been one of the better tight ends in the year this league, in the league this year. My apologies, still a little bit woozy. And I think he's one of them that's up there contending for a Pro Bowl nomination in the NFC. So it should be interesting. But I think we're going to see a lot of Hawkinson and Amendola. The offense is pretty banged up, though. I think the Bears don't have much of an excuse to lose this one, if I'm being completely honest. So, Jaylen, I'm going to pass it around to you now. What do you think about this Lions offense? And they're pretty banged up. So what do you think about where they currently stand?
Very depleted. I feel like this is like a tank move. They just fired their head coach. They just fired their GM. They have an interim head coach right now. And they're currently looking for a new GM, obviously. So I feel like they're just trying to tank for the best draft pick available. We're definitely going to see a lot of moves in the offseason for the Lions. But for right now, for this game, like you said, they're very depleted. They're missing their best wide receiver. They're probably missing their running back one in DeAndre Swift, but they still have Adrian Peterson and Kerryon Johnson, who did some work on us in week one. So I don't think their run game will be as bad as we think it is without having DeAndre. But losing Kenny Galladay, like I said, he's their best wide receiver. He was obviously missed against the Bears. Week one, I think he missed the last 6 weeks, so he's been dealing with some injuries basically this whole season. So, and they also released Marvin Hall, Marvin
Hall,
a speedster. And they said they wanted to give some young guys some looks. So they're losing a deep threat like him. They just released him yesterday. But we still have to focus on somebody like a Matthew Stafford, even though he's questionable. I'm pretty sure he's going to play with a thumb injury. T.J. Hawkinson, he's top 10 tight end right now. We had some problems being able to contain him in week one. He was, giving work to Danny Trevathan. And that's probably the first time we've seen like Danny Trevathan that happened since we signed him. So I think that struggle's going to continue to guard tight ends, especially because of the bad game that Danny had last game. But this offense is very depleted against one of our strong suits. And if we get scored on like 20-some points, I'm going to be very disappointed in this defense that you're giving up this many points to a team that's missing most of its key players.
Yeah, let's take a look at Detroit's defense. On the other hand, it hasn't been too great for them. The Bears are only averaging 19.6 points per game offensively, but Detroit has allowed 29.8 points per game to opposing teams on average. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They gave up 41 to the Indianapolis Colts, 34 to the Vikings, 20 to P.J. Walker and the Carolina Panthers, and 41 in a blowout last week against the Houston Texans on Thanksgiving Day. They've allowed 408.5 yards per game, 133.4 on the ground, 275.2 through the air to opposing quarterbacks. Parth, we've seen Mitchell Trubisky have some success against the Lions defense in the past. We see a ton of important pieces that are going to be out for them. Danny Shelton, Deshaun Hand, Jeff Okudah, Desmond Trufant. It seems like Mitch really could have a field day here, and David Montgomery could also have a good day on the ground. So what do you think about this Lions defense, and do you see the Bears finding some more offensive success on Sunday?
We should be able to find more offensive success. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of injuries on the Lions side for the defensive side of the football. They're going to miss their probably top two corners. They're going to miss Danny Shelton, who's been pretty impressive. I thought he was impressive against the Texans. I think in the first couple of quarters he played pretty well until his injury. So they're going to be missing a couple pieces. So with that being said, I think the Bears can move the ball. Again, we've seen the offense, be terrible at times. The Bears do average 19 points per game, or bottom three in almost every single offensive category this year. So it's gonna be a battle of like a bad offense and a bad defense, and we've been able to take a part of their bad defense. I think Trubisky somehow turns it on against Lions, and I think he has another good game to do that. I think he has a good chance to hopefully lead the Bears to a good win.
Yeah, we saw Darnell Mooney have 3 catches for 38 yards in Week 1 against the Detroit Lions. I guess you could call it his minor breakout game, the game where Bears fans realized, hey, this might be more than a fifth-round pick. I think it's going to be a great day for him. I think also another great day for Allen Robinson, who has 872 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns after adding 2 in Green Bay. So I think it's going to be a big day for those two. I think Mitchell Trubisky hopefully can take care of this depleted secondary. Also, they're not going to have close to as much push up front. Parth mentioned that Danny Shelton has been playing some pretty darn good football the entire season. And also, Deshaun Hand is a pretty big part of that defensive line, that front seven. But they do have a good linebacking core. Jamie Collins was ejected when they played the Bears in Week 1 for headbutting a ref. But he's still been putting in some solid production throughout the season. But I'm pretty confident that the Bears will actually hopefully be able to find some success against this Lions defense. And if we don't find any success against the Lions defense, it really shows how bad this offense is and how much we have to tear things down. So, Jaylen, I'm going to pass it around to you. Before we head into our 3 key matchups in this one, what do you think about the Lions defense, and do you think the Bears will be able to find some offensive success on Sunday?
Like you said, this Lions defense has been very bad this whole entire NFL season. They were playing very well against us for the first 3 quarters, and then when a lot of their corners went down, they give up three second half touchdowns and 20 points in the fourth quarter. So, that's going to continue. Hopefully for this game, even though how bad our offense is, we a lot of 3 and outs. Like Parth said, we're bottom 3 in every offensive category for the NFL. So hopefully this is I wouldn't say a get back game, or a comeback game for our offense, because I'm pretty sure it's going to continue to play bad even after we play the Lions. And that's going to continue for the whole NFL season. But I think we could be able to find some success, whether it's in the run game or the passing game with Mitchell to Darnell, Anthony, or Allen, who had success. All 3 have had success against the Lions in their NFL career. So it's all about being able to put it together. Hopefully we can be able to have some protection for Mitch. The offense, this new offensive line that they put out last week did very, very well against a very good Packers pass rush, So hopefully that can continue as well. So I definitely think we can find some success, hopefully.
All right, we're going to head into our 3 key matchups now. Each of us are going to share our most important positional matchup that we think the Bears need to take advantage of if they want to win this game. I'm going to be pretty short and simple. I hope Parth and Jaylen are as well. I'm going to go Mitchell Trubisky versus the secondary of the Detroit Lions. We see Desmond Trufant and Jeff Okudah out in this game. That's a pretty big loss for them, considering they were already struggling against the pass, allowing 275.2 passing yards per game to opposing quarterbacks. Anthony Miller and Allen Robinson had very good days against Detroit when we played them in Week 1. Robinson with 76 receiving yards, Miller with 74 receiving yards, and that touchdown. We also saw Jimmy Graham have success. Javon Wims caught a touchdown, but he's not going to be playing in this game. So Mitchell Trubisky is just going to have to attack this secondary and go at it fearlessly. We saw both Robinson and Miller in Week 1 have above 14.8 yards per catch. I think they're going to have great days again. I think we're going to see more of Darnell Mooney, and I think you have to attack the secondary if you want to win this game. I think it's pretty plain and simple. That should be the blueprint, but also getting the run game going is going to be important as well. They've allowed 133 rushing yards per game to opposing teams. I'm sure Parth or Jaylen will hit on that. But it looks like you guys are both on your phone looking up stats. But Jaylen, I'm going to pass it around to you now. What do you think is an important positional matchup in this game that the Bears have to take advantage of if they want to bounce back from a 5-game skid?
I'm gonna agree with you and go with the not the Packers. I'm still stuck on that game.
I'm the one on laughing gas right now, dude.
I'm the one on. I'm going with Mitchell Trubisky versus the Lions secondary as well. The Lions secondary has been very weak. They give up 4 touchdowns to Deshaun Watson. They give up 177 yards, 2 touchdowns to Will Fuller. As I continue to say that was such a crazy game to the NFL. They drug tested him and suspended him for the rest of the year. So I think that goes to show you how bad their secondary has played against opposing wide receivers and quarterbacks. So like I said, Mitchell has done very well against them. I don't know why he plays extremely well against the Lions. Every single time he plays them, he throws 3 touchdowns at least. So hopefully that can continue and pull out a win in the social field.
Yeah, it would be nice to bounce back to at least get to 6-6, even though the season is taking a turn for the worse. Parth, I'm going to pass it around to you now. I'm sure you're pretty focused on the IU game right now, but what's an important positional matchup in Bears versus Lions that you think they need to take advantage of?
I think we need to take advantage of their secondary, like you guys said. I'm gonna agree with
3
you
for
guys.
3. That doesn't happen much on this show.
It doesn't, but it's the obvious answer here. Trubisky's been able to slice up that defense. I think if the Bears want to win this game, we got to do the same. We got to attack the secondary. It's weak. We got Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Anthony Miller, and then a couple tight ends. So I think this Bears offense has a good chance to hopefully break out. I guess at the end of the year, but it could be one of their games where they could pad their stats pretty nicely.
I'm not normally confident in Mitchell Trubisky, but I am when it's against the Detroit Lions. We saw him in week 1, 20 for 36, 242 yards, 3 touchdowns with a passer rating of 104.2. So if he could replicate anything like that with 0 turnovers and multiple touchdown passes, I think we would be pretty happy with that. So now we're going to head into our Fan Mail Friday segment. I feel like our pregame shows keep getting longer as the season goes on. This first question, I'm not going to show it on the screen, comes from Mikey A. Blown. He says, do you guys think we snapped the 5-game losing streak? Obviously, we will be giving our pregame predictions in just a couple of minutes, but I'm going to go ahead for a short answer and say yes. Are we all in agreement there, guys?
Yeah.
Parth, I thought you said we were going to lose this game I think meet the points on Tuesday.
That's Monday. Yeah, but again, there's a lot more injuries on the Lions side.
All right,
if they had their players, it would be a different story.
All right, we're going to head to the next question from Jack Fess. He says, how important is it that Akeem Hicks is available to this defense? That's a really good question. I think Akeem Hicks is the X factor when it comes to this defense. People are saying it all over social media. When he's not playing on defense, you can tell that there's something missing there, especially in stopping the run game. And when Akeem Hicks is playing, you can also tell that there's something not there in stopping the run game in missing Eddie Goldman. Missing both of those guys is catastrophic to this defense. They're both so incredible up front, so underrated. As much as it hurts me to say this, I don't really know what is going to loom for Hicks' future in Chicago after this year, just because we might have to dump some of those older players, veterans with contracts, that are entering contract years. But missing Hicks is so important. He is questionable for this game as well as Khalil Mack. I very much so hope that both of them are going to be able to suit up. We've seen Mack every time he's been listed as questionable throughout the season be able to play, but we did see Hicks last week as questionable against the Green Bay Packers, and he wasn't able to play. I believe he was limited twice in practice this week and did not practice on Wednesday, so he got one more day of practice in, so maybe he'll be good to go. But it's really important. We saw Adrian Peterson, I believe, have 92 rushing yards against us in week 1. And even though it's probably a good thing that he's the one playing and it's not DeAndre Swift, who has had a really good rookie season, missing Akeem Hicks is huge in creating pass rush, in stopping the run, especially because Robert Quinn has been radio silent all season. So I think it's really important that Hicks is in there. So I don't know if any of you guys want to add anything to that, but if you want to, go for it.
No, like you said, Hicks is like the heart and soul of this defense. Without him, this run defense is pretty bad. Last week we saw Aaron Jones, be able to run the ball all over us in the beginning of the game, and once you can set the line of scrimmage, that's how you win football games. And the Packers did that early, and they won in a blowout. So if the Bears want to win, Akeem Hicks has to be there. I think not having him will definitely hurt the defense. We know Adrian Peterson somehow still playing at a pretty high level. Week 1, he did have a big game against us, so I would not be surprised if he went off if we didn't have Hicks in.
Yeah, I can agree. Some people say, oh my God, voice crack. Some people say that Akeem Hicks is one of the most important players on his defense. Even more important than Khalil Mack, and I can definitely agree. Like you said, when Akeem is out with this defense, looks fairly worse than we usually are. So definitely having Akeem back if he plays this game will definitely be a huge boost back to our defense, especially because with him out, him and Eddie, we get ran all over like I've never seen before, and we seen that last week. So. We got 40 piece, so maybe with Akeem we don't get 40 piece. We probably still lose, but it's probably more of a closer game than it actually was. But yeah, having him back is definitely going to be huge.
All right, we're going to answer one more question from Instagram before we get into our predictions in this one. This one comes from its_Aaron 24/7. He says, "Do you guys think this game even matters for the Bears if they want to make a little run at the wild card?" I think it's a pretty simple answer. The only way the Bears are going to make the wild card in my mind is if they win out. The nice thing about that, the only reason to be positive about that, the one reason to be positive about that is because if we get to week 17, and Green Bay's not fighting to move up and down to get a bye or anything, they could end up benching Aaron Rodgers. And we could somehow get in a situation where we're playing Jordan Love, and if we win, we're in the playoffs. Do I have hope that that's going to happen? Absolutely not. But for that reason, this game matters a sliver. So that's what I'm going to say. So, Parth, I'm going to pass it to you now. Does this game at all matter if the Bears want to make a run at the wild card somehow, some way?
Personally, I'm gonna say no. I've already, thought that the ship has sailed to make the playoffs. If the Bears had any chance of making the playoffs, I think the last 2 weeks we should have won them at least. The Bears are in a tough spot.
At least one of them.
At least one of them, yeah. I mean, we're 0-4 in the last 4. 0-5, but we did not win at all in November. No win November, going strong. But hopefully, December goes, I guess, the other way around. But yeah,
what an up and down season that would be if that happened. But let's hop into our pregame predictions now. We've been wrong for quite a couple weeks, if I'm being honest. I feel like we keep picking the Bears. We keep getting stabbed in the back. And even in some games, I picked the wrong team. I picked Tampa Bay back in week 5, I believe. So it's been a rocky year for picks. But let's hop right into it now. So, Jaylen, you didn't get to talk for the last question, so I'm going to start with you. What is your score prediction in this one? Who takes it in week 13 and why?
I'm gonna just try to keep it short. I'm gonna go with the Bears, of course. Here, I wanna say it's gonna be a blowout just because of everybody they're missing on the offense and the defensive side of the ball. But knowing my Chicago Bears, we don't usually blow people out like that. Even when we were a good team, we only blew like 2 teams out that year. So I'm gonna go with a 20-10 win. I'm gonna go with a 24-10 win. Mitchell Trubisky has 3 touchdowns, and we leave Soldier Field with a W. Going into the Texans at 6-6.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a pretty similar pick for you. I'm going to give the Lions 7 more points, though. I'm going to go 24-17 Bears. I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to find something that works with this defense. I think we're not going to be one-dimensional offensively. With all the injuries they have on defense, I think they're really going to struggle. I think it's a big day for Allen Robinson once again, and hopefully Darnell Mooney can have a better game than he had earlier against the Lions. That was his first game playing. And then I think David Montgomery gets in for a score on the ground. He had 13 carries for 64 yards against them in week 1. We saw him break out the longest run of his Bears career last week, 57-yarder against Green Bay. And I think the Bears find something that works offensively, and I think the defense holds off Matthew Stafford with all the offensive weapons that they're missing. So, Parth, I'm going to finish this one off with you. What is your Week 13 prediction and why? And for what it is worth, you were noted on the record saying that the Lions were going to win.
I was noted on the record saying they're going to win. So if they do win, I guess no, I'm just joking. But no, I think the Lions had a chance of winning this game. But after seeing their injury report, I think it's a lot tougher for them to win this game. But I still think it's going to be a close one, like every Bears game. They win basically. So I'm going to go with 23-21 Chicago.
Okay. Well, that'll pretty much do it for us, guys. Before I close this one off, I would like to say we will be back tomorrow with 2 podcasts. This is our only podcast for today. Our video editor and producer, Zach Rimbos, is going to put out a cool mixtape tonight. But tomorrow, our 2 uploads are going to be our post-game show, obviously our thoughts after the show, and then we will be live streaming the entire game. So be sure to come back to the Bear Down YouTube channel, hang out with us, and we will be live streaming for the Week 13 game. Should be a ton of fun. If you want more content from us, head over to our website, beardown.com. We're posting content to get you guys ready for the Bears this Week 13 game tomorrow, kicking off in about 22 hours with the Detroit Lions. So be sure to head over there if you have any extra time. If you would like to find the podcast on social media, Instagram and Twitter at Bear Down, we're announcing a Christmas giveaway in probably about 2 weeks, giving back to you guys. We'd love to do that. And finally, you can find the links to all of our social media down in the description, Instagram and Twitter. Definitely worth checking out. We're active on both of those platforms. It's a great way to interact with us and a great way just to see what our individual thoughts are as the game plays out. So, Parth Shaw, Jaylen McClinton, let's not get a 6-game skid, please. Let's just not lose. Any last words? I mean, just freaking win.
Yeah, let's just win. Somehow, some way, let's not go on that 6-game losing streak. And yeah, make sure you guys check out that video that we put out tonight. Zach usually cooks up some heat, so.
I want to be able to keep something I can talk about with Lions fans. How we haven't lost to them in like 4 years. It feels like
it was bad enough giving Kirk Cousins his first win on Monday Night Football.
Man, that hurt the soul. Like,
all right. Well, let's hope the pain stops in Week 13, guys. The Bears will go back out there. Mitchell Trubisky will try and lead the Bears to the 6th straight win over the Lions. So that'll pretty much do it for us, guys. It's been a pleasure to be your host. Once again, my name is Chris Malpe. We will be back tomorrow live streaming the Week 13 game between the Bears and the Lions, and we will also be back with our Bear Down postgame show after our initial analysis and reactions to the game. So be sure to look out for the both of those and come hang out with us during the stream. Bears fans, as always, do us a favor and stay safe and bear down. We will see you guys tomorrow with our Week 13 coverage, kicking off live at 12 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We hope to see you there. Peace.